How's it going, guys? It's Ryan here, and welcome to this video where we are going to be talking about the craziest weekend in my time playing RuneScape. So as some of you may know, I actually finished the drop tab the day before Double Experience weekend. So I actually managed to spend the entire max cash in that 24 hours. I blew it all instantly, which is kind of what I wanted to do. It was my goal. I don't really like having money in the game, and one of my long-term goals I'd always had was 120 Herblore. So I thought, you know what? Double XP's coming up. I'm gonna have to pay a little bit more for all my supplies because I'm doing it the day before, but let's commit to this and let's do this. So the total amount I spent on Herblore supplies, this screenshot says 824 mil. It was actually closer to 1.1 bill because I kept running out of supplies and I actually had to end up buying more. So initially I actually planned on releasing this Double Experience weekend as a standalone full-on skilling video, but then I realized regardless of the length of the video, the entire video would just be me doing Herblore. I had an exam on the Friday of the first day of Double Experience weekend, and what that meant is I lost the first 12 hours. In the remaining 60 hours, I had to be training Herblore for like 48 of them, so I basically just did Herblore and slept that entire weekend. All these clips actually do have live commentary with them, I just didn't include any of the commentary because sequentially it would have made for a 12 or 13 minute video of just me training Herblore. And honestly, when you're leveling the same skill the same way for 45 hours, that's not going to be an entertaining video. There was nothing entertaining about it, so I thought, you know what, let's just condense it, let's speed it up, and yeah, you're looking at the condensed version as we speak. So there were a couple of reasons I wanted Herblore as my first skilling 120. First reason, obviously the cape is incredible, it's fairly rare, it's fairly uncommon, and it looks amazing. The second reason is I didn't want to have to worry about overloads ever again. I wanted to make as many overloads as I possibly could so that I effectively had an infinite supply, and the end result was amazing. I ended up with about 255 consecutive days of overloads. So that's my account logged in for 255 straight days without ever logging out, and I could be overloaded for that entire period of time. So pretty much I don't have to worry about overloads anymore. So anyway guys, I'm gonna cut to the live comm. This is me getting the 120, and then we're gonna move on to a bank video. It is time to get 120 Herblore. Honestly, I was gonna say it feels bittersweet, but it really just doesn't. This weekend was just, it was too much. It was way too much, and I set a goal that was way too ambitious. There we go! 120 Herblore. Never again. That is the last of the potions I will hopefully ever be making unless I do like a from scratch or something. It is over. That is a lot of overloads. That is ridiculous. You really have mastered it. What an honor. It'd be my pleasure to sell you a Herblore Master Cape, my second 120 skill after defense and my first non-combat 120. 120k. There we go. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Oh yeah, that is the stuff. Wow, would you look at that? I just turned 48 hours of gameplay into less than 3 minutes of footage. This is just like the Drop Tab series all over again. Anyway guys, that's it for the 120 Herblore stuff. Let's get into a really quick bank video. I'm gonna try and go as quickly as I can here, so without further ado, let's get right into the bank. Okay, first tab, this is just completely junk. It's random junk, I don't ever get anything in here, I don't use this tab, we're gonna skip it. This second tab is my PvP tab, and as you can see, it's not extremely loaded up. I haven't PvP'd in RuneScape 3 in the last little bit, and it's basically just there to dump all the items I get when I'm killing people while making testing videos. So getting into the good stuff, we've got my gear tab. As you can see, I have the tier 90 and the tier 80 augmented sets, so that's like Nex or God Wars 2 sets, as well as the tier 90 power gear. So I've got my augmented Serenic and my augmented Malevolent, and the exact same with my Tectonic. All of that gear has Impatient 3, Biting 3, Crackling 3, and Enhanced Devoted 3, so it's not niche at all, it's just generic best in slot for random overall PVM. Next up, I've got my tier 80 gear. I much prefer to use this sometimes, especially for the Tectonic, because Tectonic is so freaking expensive right now. I definitely will be using this when I'm at like AOD or any bosses like that. The only time I really put out the Tectonic is when I'm making something like a testing video and people want to see like the best possible setups. Next up, I've got all my tier 90 shields, I've got my Void set, I've got my Slayer gear, which is Anima Core of Sliske, I've got Scavenging 2, I've got Demon Slayer, Dragon Slayer, Genocidal, and Undead Slayer on there. Next up, I've got 2 of these blood necklaces. I like them when I'm slaying on any task, when I don't use the Bone Crusher and the Demon Horn necklace. Other than that, Reaper necklace, Amulet of Souls, all just normal generic stuff. All my gloves, all my boots. These are just all of my Acto pieces, so I'm actually 4 out of 15 on the Actos, unfortunately, so, you know, working my way up there, but not quite there yet. Last off, I've got my Seismic Wand, my Noxious Staff, Annihilation, because I've been working on the Annihilation testing video for the last 2.5 weeks. I've got my Drygores, I have my Saren Godbow, which is the big thing that I bought with my max cash stack. I bought a Saren Godbow, and I bought 120 Herblore, and that was the entire tab. That was everything, all the money I had. I spent max cash in 1 day. Now, on the sad side, people want me to test the new tier 92 weapons, and the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I sell the Saren Godbow, so pretty much as soon as I'm done testing the Annihilation, I'm going to be selling my Saren Godbow, and I'm going to be investing in the new tier 92s for a couple weeks so that I can get that video out. Other than that, I've got my temporary planted feet switch, I've got my defenders, and then I've got some rings here, and my augmented arcane spirit shield that I use when I'm basing things, and I want to be a safer noob and use penance. Okay, this tab is less useful. It's all my Trist pieces, some clue scrolls. I don't really do clues on this account. I figure if I'm getting clue scrolls, I'd much prefer to do them on my Iron Man. This is just collectibles and stuff like that. So I've got all my kiln capes here. Don't ask me why I've got stackables of them. I felt like it when I was doing kilns. I've got my runes here. I've got all my charms. I'm going to hopefully get 120 summoning, not the next double experience weekend, but the one after that. And then other than that, I got my big sharks that I caught during the Araxa from Scratch series, some heads, some superior ports gear right here, Reef Walker cape, Combatus cape, 10-year cape, my Obsidian armor, Onyx ring imbued, which I know just no one does that anymore, but I have it from pre-EOC. I've got my tier 85s from ports, a crab hat, some soul stones, fighter torso, and then the rest of the items in here are just lucky items. Next tab, this is sort of an investment tab and a future video tab, so it's a mix of a couple things. First off, this is all just ports gear that I made on the last double experience weekend. I'm just waiting for the price to go back up, and then I'll sell that. These are just items I've invested in and bought at certain prices. I'm buying these whenever I run by a Slayer Master because at a certain point I'm going to want 120 fletching, or at least to go for the flow fletching pet, so I thought, you know what, I may as well start buying these when I can. Now, next up, it gets interesting. I've got a Zuriel set and a Morgan set and some Morgan's throwing axes. The reason for this is you can actually augment them and you get tier 88 power gear that lasts the exact same amount of time as the augmented tier 90 gear. And sometimes, depending on the prices, you can get it a lot cheaper. So what I've done is I've got this set here. I'm going to make myself a tier 88 main hand, and I'll probably use the Morgans here and make myself some tier 88 armor, and I'll make a testing video on that, but that will be after the tier 92 one. Next up, I've got 2 bonds. These are for a giveaway. I haven't decided when I'm going to give them away, but at some point, look out for it. Okay, now I've got my PVM tab. This is just everything I actually use. So I've got my brews, my restores, my aggression potions, my prayer potions, my anti-poisons, and then this is what happened on double experience weekend. 6.6k holy overloads. I use these for anything that is really easy, something like Queen Black Dragon. I'll also use these for all of my slaying and everything like that, any just random monster killing I'm doing. Next, I've got my Supreme Overloads. I do most of my PVMing with these. Usually I'll do Araxor with these, I'll do Telos with these, Angel of Death with these, Nex with these, and really any other boss where the actual kill speed matters a little bit and I don't have good hit chance. Next up, I've got my replenishment potions, and then I've just got my ancient ceremonial with placeholders, some summoning pouches that I use, all of my food, some portents, some summoning scrolls, and then down here, it's just all of the generic stuff you'll see most PVMers having. That's for a bonfire boost, that's for drop down at Virago. I teleport to my house to repair anything that's broken, just some divine charges, equipment siphons, Gothic staves, some ancient pages for my ancient book. I've got a vigor and a placeholder, a pheromone and a placeholder, enhanced Excalibur, herbicide, magic cape to switch spellbooks, and that is pretty much all there is to this tab. Next up, I have the incredibly disorganized drop tab because it's not actually a drop tab for a series or anything. I've just been dumping all my loot in here and then I sell it off whenever it hits like 20 or 30 mil until the next series when we're going to be doing something a little bit different with the loot, but I'll get into that in a different video. Yo, what's up guys? This is Ryan editing, and I did 3 takes on this tab, and I called it my Herblore tab each take. So yeah, there's a problem. It's my farming tab. It's not my Herblore tab, and I have so entirely given up on myself that I'm gonna do the rest of this tab as a post-com. Basically what I did 18 days ago is I planted my crystal tree, and I wanted to actually keep track of how many days I've done herb runs for. I hadn't done a herb run in about 3 years prior to this outside of the Araxa from Scratch series, and I was really interested in how much money you could make. So what you see there in terms of herbs, that's just loot from 18 days of doing herb runs whenever I feel like it, whenever I get around to it. Obviously, I haven't been setting timers or anything like that. I just do them when I can, and I will make a video at some point, maybe after like 100 days or 6 months or something like that, of just continuous herb runs to see how much money I made. Okay, last tab in my bank is not extremely useful, not extremely nice to look at either, but it's all my skilling stuff. So you got my Maxcape in here, just some summoning supplies, runecrafting pouches, and down here it's just all of my treasure hunter skilling sets. A lot of them aren't complete yet, but for the most part I've got some full sets. Botanist obviously was very important when I was going for 120 Herblore, made a pretty big difference. And then after that I've got all my Slayer helms. I don't have all of them, but I've got Arit and Darkness, I've got the Abyss, I've got the White Wearer, I've got most of the useful ones, and also Dagonoth is really cool to have because I really like Dagonoth Kings and they're a lot more fun on a Slayer task, so whenever I feel like doing DKs, I can just grab myself a Slayer task. After that, I've got my Exoskeleton, some of the Scrimshaws from the Mimic boss, some Slayer capes just to teleport to any Slayer Master. That's a really, really cool perk. Other than that, I've got some Emerald Golem outfits and all that stuff. I haven't combined them yet just because I don't have the full outfit. And other than that, I've got my large crystal urchins, my fishing stuff. I'm actually 12 million fishing experience dry on the Bubbles pet, but I've been slowly going towards that just when I have downtime, when I want to AFK. And that's really it with my bank. I've got some invention materials down there. I still don't have the invention pet, even though I'm 120 invention. But yeah, that's my whole bank. So anyways, that's a summary of my entire bank. That's everything in my bank, everything I'm doing right now. There's also 290 mil that I'm just throwing in the bank right there in my coin pouch. I'd say the total value of the bank is probably between 2.2 and 2.5 bill, just because the money sink of 120 Herblore is incredible. I don't really like doing bank videos in general, but I thought because I just finished the drop tab, some people were probably interested in what I spent all that money on. So I've done one, but don't expect one for another like at least 12 to 18 months. Now, before I wrap this thing up, on a more personal note, I just wanted to give you guys a huge thank you for understanding that this video was not out on Wednesday. Actually, I was supposed to put out the Annihilation video on Wednesday of this week. This video was supposed to go out on Sunday, and then I was supposed to put out an Iron Man video the following Wednesday, but my plans just entirely fell apart. I had a really rough week, so I do apologize for that, and I really do thank you guys for understanding. I tweeted it out on Tuesday. I just knew ahead of time that I would not be able to get the video out on Wednesday, and I just want to thank those of you who responded to me for all of the really, really nice responses I got. So anyways, on that note, have a great one. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace out.